Hey there, YouTube, here with more spoilers of Dragon's Maze. So here we have the Azorius champion, Alena of the 10th, 5-mana 4/4 pro red. When she enters the battlefield, detain each non-land permanent your opponents control with converted mana cost 4 or less. Well, she really does put a damper on red. That's for certain. Especially if you get to keep flickering her, like with Restoration Angel. Or, for some reason, in a casual deck, Conjurer's Closet. Or an EDH. Or you just do stuff and make people super sad. Yeah, she's at least a one-turn time walk against these sort of cheap decks. Against mid-range, she's not quite as good. I mean, Thragtusk is a card. A Restoration Angel, end of turn, also does that, but she seems okay. I'm not sure what to think about her. She seems fine. Better if you can flicker her, of course. Next we have the Rakdos, legendary creature, who I really like. It's Ixalba Rakdos Blood Witch. 4 mana, 3/3, first strike, haste, unleash. And each other creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has haste. So, yeah, that seems pretty cool. Will it be standard playable? I'm not sure. I think for 4 mana, it's just better to have Hellrider. Just because it's Hellrider. It does things. But she's also not bad. I think she's pretty cool. I really like her. She really does give a Rakdos feel for what it is. Next we have Final Explosion, something like that. Showstopper is, I think, the translation. It's colorless, red-black. It says, until end of turn, creatures you control gain. When this creature dies, it deals 2 damage to target creature an opponent controls. So, yeah. Stuff go boom. It's an uncommon as well. Maybe decent limited trick, I'm not sure. I'm not terribly impressed. Next we have Zerta Ancient. So we had Zerta Beast, which was a 5-mana 5/4. Zerta Ancient's a 5-mana 7/5. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, adds 1 mana to his or her mana pool of any type that land produced. Yeah. That seems really good. Not necessarily in standard, even though a 5-mana 7/5 is really big. EDHs is huge. This is like bordering ridiculousness now. If it was a 7/6, we'd be different just because it can always block Thragtusks. This just trades with Thragtusk and doesn't do much else. But certainly a very powerful 5-drop. It can do a lot of work. Get double mana is impressive. And it's a 7/5. It's just really big for 5. This is ridiculous. I saw the 7/5, I read the effect, I'm like, oh, that costs like 7 or 8 mana. I was like, what? What? And lastly, we have Turn and Burn. Very good fuse card, I think. Burn, specifically, it's colorless red, deals 2 damage to target creature or player, so it's removal. And turn, target creature loses all abilities and becomes a 0/1 red weird until end of turn. More removal, you do it mid-combat. Doing them both means probably a 2-for-1. So, yeah, good card. This is definitely a very, very strong card for limited. Not for standard, of course. Anyway, thank you guys all for... actually, hold up, I'm thinking. Turn does, in fact, stop Thragtusk. Turn does stop Thragtusk. That is important to keep in mind, because there's not many things that deal with Thragtusk. Thank you guys all for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe. Actually, once I'm done recording, some more were added. So I'm just going to go over them now and just splice them in instead of going over them tomorrow morning. Even though technically it is the morning. So there are 4 new cards. A rare, Sire of Insanity. So it's a 6/4 for 6 at the beginning of each end step. Each player discards his or her hand. Meh. Move on. I'm not impressed. This is not going to see standard play at all. We have Blood Scrivener. It's a 2-mana 2/1, which, always is interesting when they pull those out. If you draw a card when you have no cards in hand, instead draw 2 cards and lose 1 life. Certainly interesting. I'm not sure what to think about this guy. I really am not. Seems fine in zombies. I mean, he is a zombie, mind you. Lets you keep cards in your hand, lets you play out your spells, your creatures specifically, grave crawlers, Gerald's messengers, etc. So, you know, it looks good. Also, the flavor text, make sure you bleed the fine print, is quite clever. Next you have Valrul's the Scar Striped, 3 mana 2/2. Each creature card in your graveyard has Scavenge, and sack another creature or regenerate him. So important to note, he is another sack outlet. So, you know, maybe if you're not running black-white aristocrats, even though I'm not sure why wouldn't you have the option to go black-green now. This is a new sack outlet that can do some serious stuff. I mean, giving creature cards in your graveyard scavenge is not an irrelevant ability, I don't think. Just if you're playing relatively efficient creatures, which in standard you most of the time are. In EDH this is also quite solid. Regenerate on this guy is super good. So I really like him. I'm personally a fan of the cheaper ones, and this one, well, this does the trick. And lastly, we have another fuse card, Breaking and Entering. So Breaking is 80% of Glimpse the Unthinkable. Target player mills 8 instead of 10. And Entering seems put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. 8 gains haste until end of turn. 6 mana, that's a lot. Makes sense that this is a rare. It should be. So this is the closest thing we're going to get to a Glimpse the Unthinkable reprint is this one. Blue-black mill 8. Which is, you know, it's interesting. I mean, it's no Glimpse. And I have tested blue-black mill in Modern with archive traps and the like, and it seems okay. Entering also seems quite... this card is very hard for me to judge. That's what I'm going to say. That's all I can really say. It's so on and off. It's so different. I think Entering specifically has me thinking about it. I think it's just too expensive for standard play, and then the Breaking side doesn't offer much. But by far the most powerful fuse card I believe we've seen thus far. Okay, thank you guys for actually watching.